how to meditate in random places. I'm at a park, but I'm in the recreation dining section of a bank on the edge of the park. So normally this is where somebody from work would come, sit down, have lunch, have a smoke, talk on their phone, make a video, whatever. It's not my particularly favorite time to come out at night. This is the evening, as everyone else is out doing the same stuff. So sometimes when, maybe you go somewhere and the expectation that you have is foiled, and that you would rather do something else, but instead of leaving, you can pivot, you can shift. If someone's bothering you, you can just walk the other way. There's a lot of ways you can handle it without taking the low road, I guess, so to speak. I mean, you can do that if you want, but it doesn't bother me. I wouldn't encourage it. I've always had difficulty with crowds, public. I can do it, but I don't really care for it. So, this inspired me real quick. This is definitely under the Chakra tree yoga section of, not philosophy, but we're going to start getting into hatha yoga, meditation, pranayama practice. You thought I didn't do that, huh? You thought it was all philosophy. Well. I just didn't want to compete with everyone that does hatha yoga, stretching, right? Hatha, not hatha, hatha yoga. So let's start. You could even do it as a simple, doesn't even have to be the most perfect posture. You can do it in random ways. Obviously, straight up and down, it's good. Let's just play around. We'll have good posture, but we'll do it informally. Nothing special has to happen here. If you don't want to visualize a symbol or say a mantra, you don't have to. You can just breathe. Just relax. Closing the eyes really helps, but you can do it with your eyes open if you like. I believe that's the Zazen, Zen Buddhist meditation practice is done with the eyes open. Well, not entirely. I believe it is, you're looking down and your eyes are half closed. So the idea is you're aware of all the sensory in front of you, but you can't see it so clearly that you're focused on it. So it's almost like your vision is slightly blurred. And you can go into that depth of meditation through that. Personally, I prefer to close my eyes. It's just so much easier to block out that extra sensory stimuli that I think kind of gets in the way of you reaching a deeper state of meditation. You can say it like this. Say it like this. You can do this. Now, for the sake of your posture, it's best to, at the very least, keep your back straight. You don't have to tense your abdomen. You can if you want. If you really want to get into a perfect posture. It is sufficient to just be very straight, have a relaxed stomach, a very natural kind of breath. No special pranayama. Just breathing in, breathing out. If everyone did this on their work break, imagine how calm everyone would be until the next crazy customer comes in. People are walking by, tatastu, so be it. People are driving cars nearby. Tatastu, so be it. Jenny's doing this, Brad's doing that. Tatastu, so be it. None of these things matter when you're going into that state of relaxation. In fact, I find that any kind of distracting thought does not help, unless it's specifically geared towards consciousness, realization. Hands on the hips like Pandurenga. Ideally, you don't want to move at all during meditation, but since this is an informal version of, let's just practice relaxation. Sometimes you get a little stiff or you find your posture is off. It's okay to just adjust yourself a little bit, try to recalibrate, recenter. You become more aware how difficult it is to keep everything straight. Your neck wants to move around your head, your torso, your hips even. Very good. Good job. See, it really helps to not feel like you've got to do it the perfect way, because that sometimes can prevent you from doing it. Say, hey, I'm not even going to do it perfect. I'm going to do it informally. I'm going to do it for 5 minutes. There's still a benefit to that. You haven't failed. There's a really weird conditioning that is part of our culture, and that is if I don't do it perfect, I can't do it at all. That's so silly. How are you ever going to get perfect if you don't practice? You're not going to be good at everything right away. It's unrealistic. It's unreasonable. It's not being nice to yourself or others. We're so critical. Everything has to be so perfect. Technology. Oh, I'm not using the best quality camera, it's not valuable. Yeah, well, granted, it is nicer to have nicer graphics. Doesn't mean that it's not valuable. Why do we think like this? It took me a long time to snap out of it and be like, you know what? I'm just gonna do and go and be. I'm not gonna worry about that. And then I'll get better stuff later. I'll just keep upgrading. I'll get better at what I do. I'll get better at making videos. I'll get better at being a human. Whatever. Everything. kind to yourself. No one else is going to do it. No. You might get a little hit from someone here and there, but they probably want something from you or want something in return. Very infrequently is it totally selfless. And that's okay. Just recognize it for what it is. Tatastu, so be it. Well, with that, I'd like to comment on how interesting it is to me to watch, through my peripheral vision, all the people that walk by. They all are very interested in what I'm doing. So what? Who cares? Am I going to stop doing it because of that? Nope. I try to be discreet. I try not to put people in my video who don't want to be in my video. Although technically, it's not at all against the law. You can, and unfortunately in certain circumstances, and I don't want to get too politically incorrect, but you can videotape a child who's somebody else's child. That's like one of those laws where I'm like, yeah, can we draw the line somewhere here? I think it would be fair for a parent to go over to that person and be like, shut your camera off. I would never intentionally do that. If somebody ends up in the background of mine, whatever. But I'm not gonna, that's crazy. Why would you do that? There are sick people out there. Sorry if you're one of them and you take offense to that, but that's how I feel. What really is interesting to me is this sort of like general disapproval that everyone carries around. Like if you're not doing something the exact way that they want you to do it, they think that you shouldn't be doing it. And they'll give you looks, body language. You're like, what authority do you have over me? None. I never say these things, but you know, there's always the things that go through our minds. Everyone does this sort of thing. I've just become really aware of people's looks, glances, body language, posture, and even words, even if what they really mean is not what they're saying. I believe it's called reading between the lines. It's not a perfect science, by the way. It's just a very intuitive. And you do get good, it's a skill, you get good at reading body language over time if you're paying attention. You do a little bit of study, find out what it really means. It's fascinating to me, mostly because I feel that most people are unaware of what they're doing at all times. It's like they're on autopilot. They don't even know you're there walking on the path. Totally clueless. Or like they won't move over, get out of the way when you're walking opposite directions, even though it's a 2-lane path, right? Share. Or when people come into the elevator before you've exited the elevator. That one really is really amusing to me. The way I deal with these things now in life, mostly, if I'm feeling rambunctious or mischievous, then I might play with them a little bit. I don't cause any harm, anything like that. I like to be a mirror. I might show that person indirectly through creativity what they're doing. And that's helpful. Because people, it's very useful to be aware. If you're not aware of what you're doing and somebody calls you on it or catches you on it, you may not like that, but ultimately it's going to lead to your growth. And then where do you draw the line of do I stand up for myself or do I just let it go? Most of the time I just let it go because it's generally not worth it. You can get into a negative frame of mind if you're too focused on it, and it's good for you if you just let it go. So even if you want to just be selfish about it, ultimately that's the way. At least I think so. I don't really know anything. You want me to be certain and authoritative and it's good for business and it's good for marketing and it's good for being a teacher and it's all. I'd rather be honest. I don't care for lies. I mean, we all do it, but try not to. So philosophy did get tacked on to the end there. I guess I couldn't help myself. I really am trying to take these yoga teachings and find creative ways of, like do a little meditation and then we maybe talk a little bit about real life stuff. I'm out here, it's public, this is something everyone does. We all have to deal with people all the time. And I live in a very diverse environment, so there's a lot of, interesting activities and lots of people that have trouble getting along with other people in general. That's mostly what I notice when I go out in public. Stranger danger is sort of the law of the land now. Nobody trusts anybody, that's just how it feels. I really pick and choose who I speak to in public that's a stranger. Plus, you never know who you're gonna get. Bars, they always have a bad rap. Here's my experience from when I did a round of bars a couple of years ago. I decided as a spiritual mission that I was always so anti my father's drinking habit. He was a pretty heavy drinker. He was Irish, shocking, I know, right? But it's too much. And he would drive, and he had like 8 DUIs, and he was still driving, he didn't have his license. It was ridiculous. So sometimes he'd roll up the driveway when I was living with him for a short time. He'd roll up this long gravel driveway, he'd just rip up the driveway, not roll, rip. And sometimes he would pass out in his car, and I would have to go get him and wake him up. One time it was in 10 degrees, and he had a dress shirt on, slacks, no coat, no hat, nothing. He would have froze to death if I did not. I'm like, where is he? He pulled up like 10 minutes ago, where is he? I go out, he's passed out. So yeah, and his behavior, I don't want to get too personal about some things, but he did some really weird things that made me uncomfortable. No abuse or anything, just crappy behavior. So I always had a real dim view of alcohol, and he had a dim view of my habits. So after he passed away, I'm like, I kind of want to just bury this. Bury the hatchet. I want to get over this judgmental attitude that I have, this discriminatory attitude I have towards alcoholics. And so I went to bars for a while. I am very intuitive. Again, body language. So it's kind of fun. The way that people posture, the way they kind of approach you or come up to you, or in Minnesota, they will stare at you for a long time across a bar. I don't know what that's about. It's very uncomfortable. They won't make the first move. They want you to talk to them. So if you just don't say anything, stalemate. It is very fun to watch. Sorry. I have a mischievous side. I like to play. I don't want to hurt people, but I like to play. Mostly what I notice from the bars is a lot of undesirable people will approach you, especially other single males. Not in a gay way, just not that that's wrong either. I'm not that. I just find that I wanted to use a stronger word, but let's just say undesirable people. People who are not doing very well with their life. This is a desperate attempt at socialization because they cannot find a way to socialize sober in normal society. So they try to do it there. And once people get drunk, and I don't actually get drunk at the bar, I just like to have 2 drinks at the most. I don't want to talk to them, I think a lot of people feel that way. It's like smoking. You don't want to be around smoke when you're not smoking, or if you don't smoke. And you don't want to be around drunks when you're not drunk. It's fair. It's totally fair. A drunk person does not have the awareness or consciousness to realize that, or care at that point. So I just found myself avoiding people a lot. They took offense to it. Some people I'll let in. If I feel the vibe, it's a good vibe, feel like they're a decent person, they're not super hammered. I prefer talking to staff because they're sober. Even when I'm got a good buzz on, I can really hold my... I have a friend like that as well. You can't even tell when he's been drinking. Sounds like he's just totally sober. It's very odd. Some people can hold their liquor, I guess is what that's called. One time I saw a guy throw up in his shot glass at the bar. Wow. I've seen violent things happen at the bar. Theft, harassment, lot of men harassing women. That's life, though. Girls know. That's why their posture is a certain way, you know? They're smart. And that's what I started to develop, that I would just call it a female ability, that more heightened intuition. I don't know if I just have natural girl powers or what. That's always my joke when my female friends, I'm like a girl. I'm very emotional, in tune with that, and my feminine side, and I'm very, very, very intuitive. I would say that I'm psychic, but I don't think that I should make claims like that in this whole spiritual world. Talking about philosophy and yoga and everything, there's always this part of you that's egotistical, right? And wants to brag or display my accomplishments. There's no tangible way to display your yogic accomplishments except for the ones who are really advanced, and these are stories of miracles, of extraordinary abilities or powers. But they would have a physical manifestation. They would be able to prove it. It's sort of like, oh, I'm a superhero. I'm all into Marvel and all these comic movies that have been coming out for the last 5-10 years. You know, it's a fervor, and everyone wants to be a superhero. That's actually a great thing to think about, really. It's the idea of, I want to be God, I want to be a superhero. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. You're like, oh yeah, I have flame powers. Show me. Make flame come out of your hand, and I will believe you. Show me an alien, then I'll believe you. See, this is sort of the problem with belief, is that we get real wrapped up in fantasy, and we want to believe so badly. Not that extraordinary things aren't possible. I believe in some really wacky stuff. But if you cannot demonstrate it, then, you know, I think everyone has the potential to do all these things. I think everyone could be psychic. I think everyone can be intuitive. I think things are abilities in the way that they can be developed, as in skills. I don't think that you're genetically or spiritual genetics of being predisposed to being able to do something super awesome that other people can't do, or most people can't do, like supervision, or the ability to make large calculations in your mind. That's called a savant, and they exist. There's just not very many of them. The ability to fluently play the piano without ever having a single lesson in your life. In India, in the tradition, they would call those siddhis, or powers, abilities. Again, but not ordinary siddhis. I mean, you could even, my late guru, Sant Keshavdas, consider being able to drive really well as a siddhi. So there are minor siddhis, there are gradations. Major ones, superpowers, you know. I think a lot of humans do. I mean, almost every human has some sort of minor siddhi. We just don't have the big ones. Maybe once upon a time we did, but no one really knows because nobody remembers. Nobody's alive that remembers. All we have is books. And how much can we trust of that, you know? How much of it got burnt and changed and just made up out of fantasy and imagination with no proof. Like every spiritual text on earth, we're just expected to believe. I think we're coming to a point as a collective consciousness that we are starting to question things, and it's good. We should. It doesn't mean that they're all invalid, it's just that you should question things. Well, this is definitely the point where I don't want to go on any further, even though I would like to. Hopefully there was some value was achieved out of this. Stillness. Take little pauses. If you can do that on a regular basis, you will be practicing meditation without doing the full sit-down session. And if you do it enough, and it's a habit, it's so much easier to go sit on that cushion. Close your eyes. follow your breath and go deep within. Everyone should do this. You'll learn more with that than you will with a lot of things. And not just intellectual knowledge, I'm talking about real knowledge, experiential, spiritual. It's different. Let's close it with a quick, ultra short meditation. Namaste.